and it's from Assemblymember Russell about the Extinction Rebellion policing. The Met Police Service has done a very good job in challenging times over the last 2 weeks, ensuring disruption has been minimised and Londoners have been kept safe. The police have fulfilled their duty by facilitating these protests, but where protesters have taken direct action and broken the law, they have responded. In the past 2 weeks, specialist removal teams have removed 133 people locked on or glued to structures. Officers have also made in the region of 480 arrests.
Assembly Member Russell, would you like to?
Thank you, Chair. Check I've got a timer. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate your support for the right to peacefully protest. Now, I realise that policing London can be a difficult job, but I am worried that the way that the leadership of the Metropolitan Police chose to police these protests may have worsened some of the disruption. For example, on the first day, until the police encircled the protest in the six-way junction at Longacre and St Martin's Lane, it was calm, mellow and almost like a performance art event, with people passing through the area, accessing cafes, shops and restaurants. But when the police came in, that changed things. Charing Cross Road was filled with police vehicles and the junction was completely closed off, which really was disruptive to people trying to walk through the area. Now, we know by its nature peaceful protest is a bit disruptive, but do you agree that the police need to consider whether the way they choose to police peaceful protest contributes to the disruption experienced by people in the city?
Well, Chair, you know that I'm always keen to avoid commenting on operational matters, but the police always, when it comes to protest, look at the evolving situation and act accordingly, and they always seek to act in a proportionate manner as well.
On the Today programme and in The Guardian last week, a retired Met detective sergeant described the policing of the London Bridge protest on the 31st of August as an appalling example of policing. And he said that the police used, in his words, unreasonable force. Now, I've also seen worrying footage of Met police officers climbing onto a bus that appears to show them punching peaceful protesters and striking them with batons. Is this kind of policing proportionate?
Well, Chair, I can't comment on the description given by the Assembly Member. I didn't see those images, but the member will know she gets an opportunity on many occasions during the course of a year to speak to and engage with both the Commissioner and the Deputy Commissioner, and anybody who's got allegations of the severity about which have been said can always make a complaint to the IOPC or to the police, and I'd encourage them to do so. It's really important the police held up to high standards.
Thank you. Now, I'm sure that policing a big protest like this requires a lot of planning and preparation, and that would include things like risk assessments of the tactics to keep protesters and police officers safe. What sort of risk assessments were done by the Met in relation to these protests, and can they be published?
I'm not sure about risk assessments, and I'm almost sure the tactical and strategic and intelligence work done by the police cannot be published for obvious reasons. What I would say to the member is when it comes to any police operations, particularly public order operations, the police always learn from previous experiences. The police, like most good organisations in our city, are learning organisations, just like people who protest, hopefully safely and lawfully, but sometimes unlawfully and not in a safe way, evolve and find different ways to protest. It's important for the police to find different ways to police safely these protests. And can I just underscore the point you made at the outset? It is a fundamental right of living in a democracy to protest. I'd encourage anybody who wants to protest to do so peacefully and lawfully. What we can't have is a situation where people are breaking the law, and the police's job is to enforce the law.
Now, people have told me that they took their children to join a peaceful protest and felt threatened and intimidated by the scale of the policing. And a Londoner also wrote to me describing how, as a bystander in Exhibition Road, they were left physically shaking while witnessing the police rushing to collapse a bamboo structure that ended up falling close to the head of a protester who had fallen to the ground. Now, these people attended a peaceful protest or were witness to peaceful protest and yet experienced a sudden and frightening escalation of police tactics. Will you look into this?
As I said, Chair, if the member's got a complaint to make to the police, it's really important she does so. She can do so directly to the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. And those members of the public she refers to, I'd also encourage them, if they're unhappy and have a complaint to make about police behaviour, they also make a complaint to the IPC and direct to the MPS as well, who've got a Director of Professional Standards to look into complaints against the police as well.
Thank you. And that will probably apply to this next example. The constituents have also written to me with concerns about how protesters are transported after being arrested. They report being transferred without seatbelts over long distances in custody vans and suffering injuries as a result of being driven fast around corners and over speed bumps. Is that something you can look into?
Again, Chair, I'd encourage the member to look into this. I mean, look, she's got in a privileged position of being a member of the London Assembly. She gets access at least twice a year, often more, to both the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, but also I'd encourage the people she's spoken to make a complaint in relation to what they're worried about. You know, it's really important that the police held up to a high standard. The Commissioner, the Deputy Commissioner believe that as well. If there are concerns the member has or members of the public have, I'd really encourage them to pursue those.
Thank you very much. That's all my questions.